In my previous video, I tried installing Linux Mint on a €30 laptop to see how it would compare to Windows. And as you probably remember, the whole thing was suffering from freezes and loading painfully slow. So I decided to try a fix that might help at least a little bit: a faster storage. First, I had to get inside the laptop. You do it by unscrewing the visible screws, then the ones hidden under the rubber feet, and finally you need a bit of force to pry open the case. Once inside, you can see the RAM, the processor, the motherboard, and finally the storage. To my surprise, the storage wasn't eMMC at all, but a regular HDD. That completely explained the speed issues, and since it wasn't soldered in, it meant I could swap it out for an SSD. So I found the cheapest SSD I could get for about €15, including shipping. Swapping it in was easy. Just replace the HDD, click it in, and screw everything back together. For a fair comparison, I started with Windows, just to see how much faster it would get with an SSD. I grabbed a Windows 10 installer from Microsoft, but then it wouldn't let me proceed without handling all my personal data. First, it wanted my Microsoft account, then even asked for a parental confirmation as if I was a child. I tried bypassing it with bypass NRO, but it didn't work. Honestly, I didn't want to go through all of that, since I was going to wipe Windows after an hour or two anyway. So I discovered that if you want Windows without giving away your info, you need the Enterprise Edition, not the Home Edition. I reinstalled and voila, much better. The system booted several times faster. While the HDD could take a minute to load, the SSD did it in around 15 seconds. I first tested YouTube, specifically my 360 creepypastas. Rotating the camera felt more responsive and videos buffered faster. Web browsing was also snappier. In Left 4 Dead 2, the recommended setting went higher than just low, though I still played it in low for a fair comparison. Loading times were a bit quicker, though not by much, and overall performance didn't really improve a lot. The only clear advantage was fewer stutters compared to an HDD. On recommended settings, it still ran poorly with occasional freezes. As for Blender, same story as before. I also tested SSD with Linux, specifically CachyOS, to give the Arch fans a fair shot. But Linux didn't really help with the performance. In fact, it was worse. Most likely a driver issue or who knows what. But the truth is, Left 4 Dead 2 wouldn't even get me past the loading screen. Looking around in video on YouTube worked fine, but the playback was terrible, and the higher resolutions were a complete no-go. Web browsing was fine. When it comes to Blender, we were finally able to do the modeling, and even with complex objects, it did not just froze and close, even after having modifiers with subdivisions. When I tried material preview, even with simple shapes, it froze sooner or later. But modeling was a big step, and showed the advantage to SSD with Linux. But that was about it. So what did we learn from all of this? A few things. An SSD does really speed up your system and makes it feel snappier, but it won't completely fix the experience if the rest of the hardware is still holding you back. As for Linux, it wasn't the magical bloat remover that would make my cheap laptop fly. On the contrary, unless you really take care of the drivers and optimizations, you might end up with worse performance. I approached all of this as an amateur, so an expert could probably show off the benefits of an SSD or Linux better on older and cheaper machines. But this is what the regular user experience might look like. If you have any suggestions for what should I try next, feel free to drop them in the comments. That's it for now. See you next time. Bye.